Greetings. Just went to the local store, came back, and in the car. Didn't feel like getting out for a few minutes. Messiah's parable there even tells us, like, okay, this thing is not exactly this. This means this. Giving us clues, hints, telling us helping us out on the understanding of like one parable. And then still, those that don't seek truth and they're in the harlot don't understand the parables, even with the help and hints in scripture, in Revelation, and everywhere. Messiah's parables. Saying, tell us what this parable means, and he says, okay, the seed is the word. And you picture the seed getting thrown into the ground, you sow it, you reap something, right? But there's a devil seed too. And the work of the devil is also to pluck the good seed word, to pluck it. But then there's also weeds that sprout. That's the devil's work. Wheat brought into his barn and the weeds pulled out and burned, lining up with so much of scripture in the Old Testament scripture, which is his every word that religion doesn't understand or believe. That's his. You want to know? Well, not that reading can give us this by itself, but you want to hear what his word is? The very thing they say and don't care about, the Old Testament, is there it is. That's his every word. And it's written in such a way that the understanding has to be given. Even with simple teachings, we cannot see or believe them because it's contradicting something we believe inside of us. And it's going against it. So therefore, this blinding, it's not that the person can't see the letters. And they read it as it is, and they still will not believe and understand. See, that's a judgment. It's a blinding. It's what the harlot is in continually. Coming out of the beast Catholic Church system, Jesuits, whatever, 1,000 years, I suppose that was the 1,000-year reign. It's so horrible. So horrible. Darkness upon the face of the earth, like spiritually, this is what's going on within people and the world that's in darkness. It's like darkness upon the face of the deep, and there's like no depth deep enough that you can find the bottom of this. The waters, the wicked are the waters tossed, and where's the bottom? Man can't find the bottom, but they would like to say they're God and have, right? Because the bottom is so deep, even if there is a bottom, that nothing man builds can handle the pressure. And the deeper you go into the abyss underwater, the more pressure, the more threatening to kill. It's interesting. And then there's only so high mankind can go, and they could try it, and whatever technology, doesn't matter. They just cannot go any higher. I think we're pretty much at the point of figuring out how high man can go, Someone might say, well, someone 50 years ago, someone 100 years ago, technology could come out. They already said we went to the moon, They already claimed that a long time ago. Never happened. People are so blind. Even family, even heard it said, could really believe, like my own earthly father, dad. You just have to have the right telescope, and you could see the flag on the moon from Earth. I just told them, in the past, just being reminded of this, how This complete nonsense. How can you believe something you can't even see? But you're quick to believe something you can't, see how backwards it is? Quick to have faith in something that has zero evidence, actual evidence, and quick to dump truth that has evidence. Like the truth doesn't contradict, it has evidence. And they don't look at it. But they're quick to believe the devils in this world that say we went to the moon, landed there, contradicting simple laws. Yes, because as complicated as everything is, really like how it all works. The laws, the truth is simple. So the truth on this is this simple, which will make me sound like a crazy, prideful, loser that didn't graduate high school or something. When there's no atmosphere, or it's so thin that nothing can push off of this atmosphere anymore. It's that simple. No, I don't believe the world can be that blind. That's all I see. The evidence of it being that blind continually about everything, even things that that I know, like he'll show me something else that the world is blind. And, every time I see something, it is that bad. Truly is that bad. The nothings and nobodies confound the wise. Believe those words because he got it from our creator, Messiah, our creator and Messiah. And those words are preserved because I believe they're part of scripture. It's not the New Testament writing is it's a little bit, it's still his word. Let's just put it like that. It's believers that truly were believers, and that's what he preserved. He didn't preserve garbage and try to trick people, that's what the devil does. Saying that these books were lost for 1,500 years and nobody could see them for 2,000 years, it's nonsense. Like, oh, he's hiding his word. He's not worried about hiding special books. Look at the evidence here. Bibles, trillions of them everywhere. Everywhere Bibles. More Bibles than there are people. And what is it doing? Nothing. It's not worried about people. Hiding things like, if you find this book, this false book, you'll understand and unlock the keys to truth, and this was missing for 1,800 years. Prideful teaching to believe that you now are one of the only one or first of a very few that received something other believers didn't. That's not who our Father is. He doesn't hide something valuable for one believer long ago from one today. But that's where I stand, and I stand firm on it, on these false books. But it's just interesting because I really do believe and see that the world is that blind about so many things. It's not like a little bit blind. It's that bad. And I've questioned it, like, am I crazy, And the answer's still the same. It's just, yeah, the world is that blind on so many things, and man has ascended to the heavens and they've gone to the bottom of the ocean, they've gone below and they've gone above, so they say. I don't buy it. I'm not buying it. And where were these people when he created the foundations of everything and the deep waters that no one can even go to? Well, hiding truth because, see, no one can go there, so they become gods with however they want to be. No one can just dive and go like they can. If someone does this, they can only go so far and not even close to whatever, I don't even know. I know they can't touch no bottom. So there's an illusion created that man has found the bottom. Prove it. Prove it, snakes. What are you going to do? Prove it? No, they can't prove it. They can only give us whatever they want to give us. We've went to the moon. We're landing on Mars. We've gone up there. Prove it. No eye has ever seen. No eye has ever seen this claim with their literal eyes that somebody landed on the moon, but everyone has believed it, right? As if they've seen it. So then unbelievers shoot themselves in the foot with this faith, faith, with like no proof, like a stupid faith. They shoot themselves in their own foot because our Father makes everyone who hates him a fool. They quickly believe whatever snakes say. NASA, with their serpent tongue logo and CGI work, they quickly believe whatever they say without seeing it with their own eyes. Amazing. I think it's good for, I believe believers will come to this understanding, like even like things in the world like this, deceptions. They have to see that Satan deceives the world. They have to see that that word is true. The Father has to show them that it is true. Then the truth is like valuable and rare, and it's a gem. And that's interesting enough what the kingdom of heaven is like a pearl in a treasure box, hidden. And people are searching for the wrong kind of treasure, aren't they? I did a video on that. That was like another connection I was given. Where your heart is, where your treasure is, there your heart is also. So if it's gold, it's buried underground, and that's what people's hearts are searching and looking for, how to make more gold. Then their heart's buried underground also. That's a pretty vivid picture, almost as if it's dead, because dead things stay underground, right? And dead treasure is dead, and it's underground. It doesn't have any concerning truth. This money here can't do anything. It's dead, you know. It's got its purpose and everything like this, but that's what people value and have their heart in. So they're lowly to the earth, underground. That's where their heart is, carnal. Um, but the word, he says it plainly, is the seed is the word. And it's amazing to me that the whole church world, and if you give them like a couple parables, especially on hell, if you were to say this doesn't mean this, and then give the example, see this seed, it means the word, they won't believe you, even though we can read the actual words. Nope. It says his tongue, it says he's burning. He's burning. Interestingly enough, those that do this are spiritually burning. They're smoking. They're enemies of our Father and Messiah and believers. If one parable's like this, isn't all of them like that? Yeah, it is. Where reading the letters and walking away with letters is going to be a lie, a wrong understanding, and even doctrine of demons, if that's how we understand carnally. There is no such thing as a parable in Scripture that means exactly literally what it says. It's teaching a greater lesson. It's like something, that's what parables. You have to know what such and such thing is, like what seed is, which he tells us is his word. And the scriptures do, in fact, teach this. I don't know where or memorized, but it's in there. Reaping and sowing the seed and everything teaches that it's his word. It's in there. So then the spiritual understanding has to be given. So guess it's really simplified to two things. Either weeds are being sowed or wheat, wheat and weeds, two things. And whatever, there's different kind of weeds, but it's all weeds. So the apostle mentions building the house, whatever could be burned will burn to like build it carefully. No one can lay down another foundation that was laid already. And this foundation is firm and doesn't move, just as the earth itself is firm and doesn't move and cannot be moved. Man can't move it just because he says, I'm God. It spins, therefore it spins. That's NASA and the world. Snakes. We say, and so it is. It's like it's as if they replace the creator. He speaks and it is. They speak and it reverses. That's what they do. The new moon's pitch black. We're God, therefore it is. And I'm sure some believers came across reading certain things that we've come across where like we read somewhere about some people saying we finally have moved the sun and put it in its place. Like if that actually could be done. But see, in the minds and hearts of people, they did this. We moved it, and we say it's this and it's this big, and so they did that. Not literally. They didn't change anything, literally. Just a deception that if the foundation is moving and not firm, then neither is the foundation the Father built through Messiah being the foundation. It's just moving and crumbling, right? It's on quicksand or it's on sand, moving like the wicked, like the waves. I don't think so. No, this foundation is strong. It doesn't move. It has to be like this naturally in order for the spiritual not to contradict. Because one isn't moving and then the other is moving. It's a massive problem. I've given examples before, like a vine. Let's say it's disconnected and it's laying on the ground like a branch, and it's like alive and growing. We got a serious problem with his word now. Can you see that? That doesn't exist. That doesn't exist. So knowing this teaching, you could call it a teaching doctrine that the natural doesn't contradict the spiritual, could help expose a lot of things. That if there's a contradiction between the two or something like it, it's a lie. So it's not amazing that Satan masquerades as an angel of light and says the earth is spinning and it's moving like crazy, like 600 something thousand, 660, 666. It's moving fast and it's spinning too. Like there's no part of it that's not moving and spinning. That would be the perfect 180 from a foundation that doesn't move when it and not spinning, not moving. And what's the 180 of a dark moon? A full moon. See, what he has given me to see and continue to see and confirm continually is that the devil doesn't go left or right 90 degrees. He goes 180. That's the goal. So it's like the perfect opposite thing because to be like 90 degrees is only halfway there. It's like half good still. And like half backward. There's no such thing as that 50. He goes 180. The people go 180. And they do 180 things. Um, with everything, if they are not of the truth, then they do it. They do this. And even the things that they might say right, they do 180 and believe 180 secretly. secretly. Just keep getting reminded of that hush symbol. It's amazing with the one finger to the lips, like shh. I see this a lot in the world, in Hollywood and sports everywhere. I've seen it, like looking for these things and seeing them. Don't tell anyone. That's what's going on. And they're not just doing that for fun. It's like the devil telling them to do it. And cover one eye when you make some great move for a game. Just randomly cover one eye as you're running down the court. And the whole world can't see what's going on. It's crazy. And an even deeper delusion than that delusion is to believe you're the light and you're actually darkness. That's even deeper of a delusion. To maybe even say the words and uncover some of these things and not really see it and believe it and still be of the harlot. That's an even how great that darkness, if that's true. He taught it. What if the light in you is darkness? How great that darkness. It was just a fake, a fraudulent light, see, but it wasn't really a true light, but it believes and acts as if it's the light. But in reality, it's darkness. How great that darkness. It's even darker than dark. Messiah taught this. The very thing he would be saying if he was like sitting right next to us. He's giving us truth. He's not giving us things 180 to speak. Darkness. It's interesting because darkness has its own, like, I don't know, beauty in a twisted way or something. And yet, like, darkness represents evil and spiritual darkness, which is no good. And yet, there's something still about it. But I suppose the world is like in a deeper spiritual awe, because they're one with the darkness. It's like in contrast to the light, maybe. Maybe that's part of it. Like, wow, this is crazy. It's dark. Like, it's like the opposite of light. So it's like, wow. And then there's still a light, the moon, that's a lesser light. But even then, it's not a full light. Like, it's only that for like a few days, a week, but then the rest of it's like half or waning, barely there, can't see it. It's interesting because it's a cycle of lighter, darker, back to light during the night. Whereas the sun doesn't do this. It's always like full light during the day, whereas the moon is not always full light during the night. I don't really, the significance of that. I'm not quite sure I could say something sure on it, but there's something to it. And the scriptures teach, Messiah taught that darkness comes. Like for a believer, it doesn't mean like they suddenly become unbelievers. It just means darkness comes. So the five wise virgins have oil and they get their light out, light it, and it burns, and it has some light around them. Because that spiritual darkness always wants to come back, and it cycles. Can't see as far as we did in the daylight, so it's necessary. Yeah, it's necessary. And all the stumbling stone and traps, Messiah says that's also necessary. It's like inevitable. It just has to happen. But woe to who it does happen to. But indeed, that's what has to happen, though. Woe, 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 all to the earth. The devil comes with wrath, and then the apostle says somewhere that the devil not to go down like with wrath before, it's when the sun sets, when not to hold that overnight and give place to the devil. It's interesting. Give place to the devil. When that true like evil wrath comes out, it's like we make a way for the devil to do something more. Give place for the devil. See? To believe that this can't happen to believers is to be in delusion. Like, oh, I'm saved. I'm done. The devil can't touch me, can't tempt me. Oh no, that's a delusion. So then they have to learn how to not give place as much, which, the Father's teaching and giving the power. We realize we can't do it by our own power. But this would happen a lot, and hopefully it's happening less and less where make room or make way for the devil, just constantly guarding the house. What he's teaching in the parable, found it all swept up and clean, looks like nobody's home. And then the frogs, 7 more come that are worse than the first. And then the last state of that man is worse than the first, getting worse and worse. The harlot leads people to get their guard down and not guard the house. So it's falling and it's in destruction, yet it's falling, yet it is to come that it falls. And, whereas the house that's being built is being built and it's built and being guarded, yet it's being built and it is to come to be fully built and built. Where those that build their house on sand, it's falling and in the process of a falling and in destruction, yet the fall is coming and the destruction's still coming. So it's like true, all his word is truth for us right now, and it is to come still. Somehow works out to be exactly like that without contradicting. That was the revelation on revelation. Like a lot deeper on the was, is to come. And it's a sign to me, a powerful sign. Not necessarily automatic, I guess, because there's going to be believers that need to still learn, grow, but nevertheless, it's a sign that when people teach as if any part of scripture or his word was like fulfilled, like it basically they're implying it doesn't have anything to really do with us now. That's a pretty big sign. That's the devil's work right there. Unless someone comes out of that, they reject that his word is true right now for us. And it was true all along. Not having man given the true understanding and power, but it was true, and it was all true through the types and naturally. But the teaching's there. It's just that the carnal man can't see or comprehend the things of the spirit of Elohim, our Father. They can't. Like I read, like plainly, the carnal mind, the carnal man is not even able to comprehend or accept, similar word there, I think, the things of the Spirit of the Father. that's only for believers to really believe that. I mean, it's one of those things where to understand you have to believe, and if you don't believe, you won't understand. It doesn't make carnal people happy when that's given, you know. Like, well, I need proof of faith, you know. Well, you have to believe to believe. It's like for insiders only. Sorry. I'm not saying to act like that, but I'm bringing out this truth that they can't see or believe until they believe. You know, we can't do anything else. We're not going to show them something that makes them go, wow, you know. I mean, the only time someone maybe do that is if the Father just opens up their eyes that moment. But we can't really do that, you know. I don't have the power to make someone see that the seed is the word. And so if I go out tomorrow and do some, I don't know, whatever sin is, anything, then I sowed some bad seeds, I guess, didn't I? That's not good. Maybe it's not perfectly like that because I don't believe a believer wants to do that. Just that through weakness or failure, you know, that their intention is not, I'm going to go and sow some weeds, you know, and destruction and do evil. Hopefully that's not for anybody that believes. But the intention of the enemy is to do exactly that, where our intention is not, but, you know, the mistakes and failures exist. And people use that against us amazingly, as it's been done for me, and I know it's done for others, where if they can point out one thing in the past, like even going back 15 years, that's it, that's done. Oh, look what you did 15 years ago. You're not perfect. Therefore, whatever you say is garbage. My own parents did that to me. I don't even know if it's right to even say that. Just a powerful example where they actually blame me for doing like bad things as a kid. It's unbelievable. Of course, they will never say that they said that, even though they did, because something was being brought up in the past about some truth, and like the only way to attack it or destroy it to try to for that moment is to go, yeah, you weren't very good like way back then, and you did this as a, and actually have the carnal blame for a kid that doesn't even know what he's doing and can't even help it, you know, blew my mind. Amazing, amazing, as if they were like perfect kids. Well, yeah, it was. That's what they believe. They were perfect kids. Anybody that does this, you know, that they believe they, oh, I was a good kid and was perfect, you know. So we have to like understand that carnal people are kind of just like those kids. Like a kid doesn't understand, it doesn't know what it's doing, it's confused, it's imagining things, making things up all the time. That's what carnal people are like, so we have to like be aware of that. Which I know someone might say, yeah, they do these things on purpose, you know. Yeah, and even then they still don't really understand what they're doing. They're not seeing the full truth or picture there, you know. They don't truly know what on earth they're doing, what they think they know. And they, by their instincts, they want to kill and destroy truth. And I believe this trickery and power is really the devil working in people to like just become good at that. But the heart itself is deceitful. So you got a deceitful heart above all things. So now we read and understand and believe this. And then you got an enemy. Can you see that the only setup is for failure? Maybe if the heart was not deceitful above all things, one person, no, not even then, because who's going to overthrow a temptation like this, whatever it is? So the only one that can start conquering is our Father, our Creator, and the Messiah. And that's it. Whereas sowing seeds, edifying, nourishing, these things the body can do, but they can't really, they don't, of myself, I can do nothing. And if that's true for myself, then of myself, I can do nothing for that person over there. Not to say, see, so the believer's understanding and believing that if they give words, our Father might do something because of that. Where people get so prideful, like Calvinism or something, where they would actually get into that spirit and heart of doing nothing because our Father does everything. It's doctrine in their head. And then that pride goes against them to actually think that our Creator cannot do something through you doing something, saying something, giving. It's the very teaching. That's the very teaching right there. That this word's like a seed, but in this truth, it's just that not many wheat comes out of it, but like a few. But still, there's no teaching, well, because of this truth, do nothing now. And like it's all for self, as if that didn't happen to us, like hearing something, even if it's through the church world, totally forgetting that, you know, these people aren't likely true believers that continue on like this, that teach that, but forgetting about themselves too. Where did you hear his word? Where did you hear something? Or did you just sit there and think really hard and like, I believe in the Creator? Carnal mind can't do that. It doesn't sit there and have the ability to one day go, I believe. So that's why religion's a trap. It's a masquerade, it's a trick, smoke, it's tricks, mirrors, smoke. Where even if someone maybe has like they sprout or have some kind of, then religion will just trap them, snuff them out. Because you can't be like around weeds forever. Like you can't be one with a bunch of weeds. They're gonna kill that thing unless you were able to pluck them all out. But that's not our job. Don't pluck them all out. Let them grow together and do all this. And he's doing the separating, so then the weed, so it doesn't get choked out. But then, it says, well, for some, it's going to fall in this shallow, rocky ground where weeds, and the weeds are the world and the ways of the world and beliefs of the world, the teachings of the world, and it chokes out because one little thing in the middle of a bunch of weeds can't, it's the way it is. It needs to go away from them. It's just a matter of time before it gets choked out. You know, people think they've like escaped the world or overcome sin in the world by going to church. It's a massive delusion. It's worse. It's the worst thing there is, because at least an unbeliever just doesn't believe. But now these people believe they're saved and it's done, and they came out of the world as if this was like a one-time thing, and it's like, oh, I did it. And I see the spirit of it, man. I see it. I see the fruit of whatever believers that I personally know. and just being around them, which is happening less and less. Just there's just nothing in common, you know. Um, where you could see that they're attached to the world, like you see it, spiritualized, like that there's no difference. They're just person going to church versus someone that doesn't go to church. They both love the world, you know. It's seeing that, but I don't know how else to say it. Like I've said a lot, because the moment they see someone that's like against this, right, they're not loving the world, that disbelief and anger comes, you know, where'd you get your truth from? It's not my truth. Where'd you get this? You know, even giving the gospel to somebody I've known for years that's in the church world that repented. And I said, maybe we should be doing this because of what he did. Um, and it was as if he never heard of it, never heard of this plan, this gospel, or um, judgment that always comes up with someone that's really coming to understanding is that fear, that thought of, wait, church is not a safe place just automatically. He's saying that there's judgment, you know, and this makes him angry, sadly. And they ask you, where do you get it from? What is this thing you speak of? You know, where'd you get it from? You can tell them, they won't believe it. If they've been friends for years, the best they can do is pretend that like they're okay with it, but they're not. You even get to see that discernment too. Just see right through people. And I believe it's already happened more than once where they purposely set something up to see if you'll help them. This is evil. This is called sin. This is testing someone, trying to tempt them, test them to sin. If they do this, then this is who they are, and that's their intention. It's quite a friend there, isn't it? Of course, they think that you can't see that ever. If you're to say something about whatever's being done and just stop it in the middle and say, why are you doing this? You'll basically catch up like a beast in shock. No, no, no. Yeah, right. So then they're going to jump on you and try to kill you. You know, it's the only way. What else? And I don't mean like literally there, but it could happen. It just that's hard to get away. It's being restrained to some degree. So yeah, that's difficult. So then like whatever you believed or thought about friends sort of starts disappearing, doesn't it? Because that's a pretty evil thing to do. Is that a real friend then? And we're not supposed to hate them or do anything like that, but the way he set it up for believers is it's all against us. Like if you try to fight that, we're in trouble then. You just have to accept that it's all against us. And we can't flip that around or change it. What I mean by that, they're always going to be in their own mind that they're right and you're wrong, pretty much as simple as that. And they'll murder you, and your job's not to murder. It's all set up against us, like as a test. And to try to like believe there's somebody that's not like that is to start going in delusion, you know, unless they're another believer. Then they can hear each other's words and like they don't do this to each other. To let me see if I can catch them in a sin. And today I'll plan this. I'll bring my truck over, loosen the battery cables, and please, Ryan, try to fix my truck. It's the only reason I came over. And then they're in awe and disappointment when you quickly go to help them, because what they wanted to see is that you don't, so that they can prove that whatever you said about truth and the gospel, tie it together you and throw you down and call all of it garbage and wicked and evil while pretending to still be your friend after. Pretty cruel. Pretty cruel. But I know how it sounds to actually say people do this on purpose. I know. I know that sounds crazy, and they'll say, how do you know? You don't know. That's for each believer individually to see what they see. See, it's not for me to tell this happens to this believer, and that's for them to see such and such situation, and they know what happened because the Father revealed it. But to say that people do that on purpose, that's the very thing people hide constantly from. So you sound like a crazy man. You sound evil for just bringing out truth. What's evil about telling the truth? What's evil about calling dark darkness? Of course, if something's illogical and untrue, we can go along and give examples of this and prove that it's illogical and untrue. Where with their logic now, the carnal knowledge, serpent knowledge, you would have to say with going along with that calling like a rapist like an evil work and a rapist, that you can't do that. That's evil to do that. So what then? Call it good? Teach it to do? You're trapped instantly. But even these things won't matter. They always one up you in their own mind in delusion. But they will believe that they did that though. So you go away knowing that that's what they believe, convince themselves in their own mind, and it's not true. But you have to live with them believing certain things that aren't true about you, right? Why do you think nobody talks about these things? Because they're trying to hide that they do it. The very testing and traps that Messiah experienced, he wasn't crazy. He knew what their heart was doing. Why do you seek to kill me? What was their response? Who seeks to kill you? Just after trying to chase him and kill him and trap him, immediately after they say, who seeks to kill you? In front of a crowd, making him look evil and crazy, and them actually believing that Messiah can't see what they're doing. Isn't that something? And I'm saying that's what the believers get to experience. The very thing the church world cannot touch. No, they can't. Because they're the example of not experiencing that continually, or running away from it. Well, we'll do anything for peace and compromise for, do anything to go through the wide gate and not receive that tribulation. That's another like angle or perspective of why the church world is dangerous, because it keeps you from, my hands getting numb, from wanting to acknowledge these things exist and go through them, right? And I know the believer's going to have moments where they're going to be tempted to do the wrong thing, the easier thing, so that they don't receive any backlash today. I just don't want it today, right? We're going to be tempted to do that, I'm sure. Yeah, because I've been. Failed. Where it's like you're tested to see if you say a lie so that you don't go through any problems, or speak the truth regardless of what's going to happen. Knowing that, you know, they can't ultimately just, whatever the Father wills will be done. but you might receive persecution or some kind of negative thing, lose money, lose fame. The worldly people have to say the right things all the time, regardless of whether they believe it or, see it. Just to like, well, if I say this, then I'll lose fans. If I don't say sorry in this one situation where it was blatantly obvious, my only thing I can do to sort of scrap the pieces and save what I can is to say sorry. I'm seeing that like a lot clearer now. That's what Hollywood's like all about. If they can get away with it, they won't do that. It's just a constant image and show and fakery. And it's too much to try to get into and find them all. There's too much. Like a little bit of me got into and looked into this basketball corona thing, and I'm seeing like connections, no doubt, without a doubt. Still favoring that, like, for example, Kobe's alive over being sacrificed in this case because he is a storyteller and likes to tell stories. He said that's his passion after retiring. And Black Mamba's a snake, so it's a liar, and why? Like really deep, like there's those things are like the connections are just going to be some missing. I don't think I'm going to chase that too much. What I'm seeing out there is that it seems like there just might be more and more people who say, I'm the Messiah. I can't believe my ears when I even hear it. And they exist. Where they say, I don't know if I'm Jesus. I just don't know yet, but I look like a Edomite or I look like this person and I started this foundation and I was destined to do that. Yeah, you were talking about destined to be deceived. How could anyone actually, so they start mocking truth or mocking any real truth because they have to do that in order for their story to be real. Meaning like Messiah's coming is going to be through a birth because that's the only way they could exist, right? So any other truth has to go away. See that? Just delete it, mock it, make fun of it. Okay. Now we project the image of that stupidity. So now we're left with down here where, okay, so the Messiah has to be born. So he has to be born and grow up. And this is what people are believing, except they're forgetting something. That's the truth for the anti-Messiah. That's the truth for the anti-Messiah. They're teaching it. And there's going to be more than one person going, I'm Messiah. I believe I'm Jesus. With all the evidence, I don't know yet. So they'll say he's learning and growing in Messiah. They'll try to connect these things in a damnable way. Throwing a little bit of truth in there, like, Messiah himself learning and growing, figuring out who he is, who the Father is, truth, the scripture, everything, and then mixing it with some damnable lies so that they can get away with saying, I'm the Messiah and we need a leader. And I believe this is going to be more and more projected into the world. The idea that we need some savior and leader, I think, is going to start growing from this point on through sports, entertainment, movies, music, whatever. It's all connected. And trouble needs to come in order for people to have a Messiah because it's at their weakest point. See, that's why. Like for the anti-Messiah, it's for their weakest point. So like, I don't know, a collapse of the system, at least temporarily, and out of this tribulation, the Savior comes. And there's literally people out there, they exist, that say, I believe I'm Jesus, or will just say it outright. And there's more than one. So it's like, isn't that a little painfully obvious that there can't be more than one King of Kings? So what's going on with these few people out there that are doing this. Well, one of them's going to try to convince that those other ones are liars and I'm true. Kind of like the denominations work, you know. Except in this case, it's a little bit stricter because a denomination could say there could be others out there that are saved too, but here it's definitely saved. Like I heard growing up, we're not saying there's not a single one out there, but here, this is, you know, there's salvation here in this church. Um, but can you really say that about another Messiah though? Like, well, there's some other true King of Kings, but I'm definitely the King of Kings. It's kind of messed up. It's sad because once you see that, that's a real hardcore judgment. And it's not like, oh, hopefully he's just a little confused and he'll, no, you're smoked. They're not going to back down from believing that. I'm not going to say 100%, but like, this is the truth. They're not going to back down, but hoping that some would, but there's a certain point where you see something in someone and it's so damnable, so far gone. It's not like a believer making a mistake or something. Like they're so far gone about a serious teaching, like I'm the Christ, I'm the Messiah. That's like to go above and beyond the doctrine itself, and then saying and believing it about yourself is, you know what I'm saying? It's not a good sign. It's not likely they'll come out of that, no matter what you do. And if you expose any of it, you're an enemy to them, and they'll expose you as an enemy and a troll. Yeah, it's sad because it's like that's what's happened to a lot of, at least on the internet world, we're like, oh, maybe this is a true believer, and then some damnable thing comes out like this. You're trying to be the king of the kingdom that they founded. This is the very opposite of denying yourself and believing that there is one Messiah and one Creator. Isn't that crazy? That they actually start thinking I'm Jesus. You know, understanding Jesus, the false name, but still knowing that that's what people believe, that Jesus is Messiah, that they actually start saying that about themselves. Such and such that believe that can't be trusted at all anymore for anything. Because you see that sin is so big, so far out there, they can't be trusted for anything else. But they will have words given to them, and they'll say right words and even expose evil. This is what makes the anti-Messiah so great, is he's going to expose evil itself. It's the only way to convince people that he's good. And what everyone's doing, carnal people, is they're protecting who and what they are, hiding it by exposing. I know this makes a believer sound crazy too. That's the damnable thing. It's not that that's wrong in of itself to expose evil, but I'm saying what the carnal mind does without sincerity or truth or true intentions is gasp and cover their mouth and go, wow, that man's evil. I would never do that. But that's like their heart all day long. So then they're going to look for a man that says, wow, these things are evil and there's wickedness in the governments and all these things. And it's a swamp, a deep swamp in there. You know, isn't that amazing? Until Trump started saying some things that people who like brought stuff up were like pretty much just ignored. It's like crazy, stupid, at least certain things. And definitely, you know, a lot of people would have had. But then when like a man starts saying things, everyone just, now it's okay to say that the media lies all the time. Fake news. But before this, you know, I don't want to hear your fake news. But after Trump says something, oh, it's fake news now. It's okay. See, this is worshiping men as gods. This is looking up to them. To look up to someone like that here is to look up to the carnal man and look down on Messiah. You know, it's like the 180 thing and our Creator. That's what I'm seeing. Just some stuff I'm just given to see. Whatever I'm seeing right now is like there's seems to be building up for getting the state of mind to believe that it needs a Messiah to correct so much evil that, is being exposed. Like it's not looking good, this we need some help quick, the debt, the chaos, and it's like these things are being built up and divisions being forced on people through trickery with Black Lives Matter and all this other stuff. And it's like Corona, just building up that chaos that's, we're in a lockdown, we're in chaos, we'll get through it, we'll get through it. So delusional. It's not to say there's nothing reality about like some of these things, but it's all trickery and lies though, the way it's being done. No, no, it is. They're not able to just give you pure truth. The government can't do that. Presidents can't do that. Carnal man can only mix lies and truth on a good day, and that's the best they can do. They can't just give you truth. They have to continue the delusion, which once that's exposed, that person's not looking so good anymore. But the carnal man needs to protect whatever Biden or Trump that they love and can't believe that someone's doing a grand deception like this and they're evil. Because also they don't want to see that about themselves either. Like, so, no, he's not that. He's not what you're saying because I'm not that. I'm definitely not that. I don't lie. And didn't Trump say we're going to land like a woman or somebody on Mars? That's a lie. He's continuing a delusion. And someone that does this on purpose is not a believer or a good man or anything. No, people think. What do you mean going to Mars? They lied about everything and what everything is. Whole thing's a delusion and lie going to Mars, just continuing the lie. And then continue everything else that's a lie, same thing. And I see the debt that the nations are in as a sign of something spiritual, which is spiritually in lots of debt to sin. So then it manifests that the nations go in debt, and all debt has to be paid for. It's not the way people think it's going to be paid for. That's what I'm saying. There's a connection to sin, and then the nations going crazy in debt. It's like so one, so the other, just a matter of time, and it's like a judgment. To be in sin is to be like likened to being in debt, the scriptures teach. And you won't get out of that prison until every last penny is paid. Messiah said that to the Pharisees. They weren't in a physical prison that moment, and they didn't go into a physical prison a few years later. He's not talking about that. But the truth is not given. We don't have it, so the people can't teach it. He who is worthy of many lashes will get many. He who is worthy of few will get few. And this is true right now for believers, as being chastised, whipped with rod and everything. It's true now. It's true. The judgment on them. This is true for those that don't overcome. Once again, teaching that our Father is a righteous judge. Too much punishment is evil, and too little is evil because it's not perfect and righteous. Proverbs 11:1. Read it, believe it, soak it in, because this is what the whole church world doesn't believe. That A false balance is an abomination to our Father. False balance is an abomination. So then what is this? Too much punishment is evil and abomination to our Creator. Yeah, too much, not just too little. Okay, too little. And everyone's like, yeah, that's true. Because we want people to burn, too little is definitely no good. You sinned against the eternal God, and eternal sin, what they say. Totally forgetting that a scale goes two ways, not just what church world says. Too much punishment is an abomination. Even giving the picture right now in this even evil world where even evil people can see that putting someone in prison for 70 years for blowing a stop sign in the dark, a four-way with no cars around, 70 years jail, can even see that's not right, that's not fair or righteous or anything. In fact, it's evil. The punishment doesn't fit the crime, or the crime doesn't fit the punishment. That exists. And they can look at the world right now, soak it in, they still won't believe it or see it. It's testifying against them constantly. The courts, the judges that exist, is testifying against them that they teach wickedness. When evil people can figure out something's evil, then the church world's real evil and real blind on this thing. And it's hypocrisy, because they would be crying and screaming if they got sent to prison for 50 years for blowing a stop sign slowly even, and no cars are around and it's dark, no threat to anyone, no people. 50 years in prison. They'd be crying, screaming, flipping off, hating, murdering, screaming, get me out of, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to paint the picture of this bad hypocrisy. If you believe your doctrine, stay in prison and shut your mouth. You think they're going to do that? I'm just saying, if this happened. No, not even one would be able to go, yeah, that's a contradiction. I'm in such delusion, I think I'll shut my mouth for 50 years so that I'm not wrong. I don't think they can even do that. People will do that to the bitter end on things that they don't want to admit, but I don't think any single one of them, because this is their whole life now, they're all going to scream and kick and squirm and say this is wicked and unfair, right? Parents with kids, Christian parents with kids, punish the kids, right? They can watch what they do themselves and contradict with hypocrisy on this teaching, this evil teaching, punishing forever. Another testimony right against them, their own life, their own example, family, kids. So what? The father does something 180 to, it's messed up. It's messed up. They wouldn't torture their kid with no end, right? Like, I'm just going to torture him forever. Like, if they could. Do it to your kid if you believe this doctrine, like father, like son. Isn't that the point? How come it's not matching what they teach? Because it's a lie. Because Satan sowed some wicked seed and it grew into weeds. It thinks it's good because it can't see itself, but it's a weed. You can see everybody else. Look at them. Can't see it, and they can't see believers' heart, the intentions. Spiritual man judges or discerns all things. He himself is judged by no one. That contrast, believer, spiritual, carnal, where Spiritual man's being given to see more and more and discern things. But he himself is discerned, judged by, they can't see it. They can't discern you rightly, so, or righteously, or judge righteously. They can't do it. That has to be given, literally. Carnal man cannot discern spiritual. The Pharisees could not discern Messiah, being the example. Everything they did and said about him was a lie, even going to the point of saying he's got demons. Messiah just simply says, I don't have a demon. You do. And of course, they don't believe anything he says. So then a believer being a messenger of truth, the example of a believer giving like Messiah gave, they won't believe us. They won't believe you or me. Never, ever, ever. Only continuing to try to trap and destroy and prove guilty. Just one little thing they do and they prove guilty in their mind. And really where it starts getting bad is when like that first moment they get some kind of heavy truth. From that point forward, it's like, oh, this person became an enemy. This point forward, it's like, I'm going to test and tempt him and try to trick him and do all these things to him. And a man's enemies is that of his own household. They do that to you too. If they really are starting to see that someone's a true believer, they'll want to do that. Yeah, they'll do that. I've experienced it. Once again, the perfect example. Did the Pharisees go, oh yeah, we're sinners. What you say is true? Never. No. Only the opposite. Denial and just wrath, tearing their clothes because judgment's mentioned. Don't mention that word in front of them. Can't you see who we are? Dressed up, good to go in the church world, we're righteous. How dare you say this? Judgment. Judgment has nothing to do with me. A believer can't speak like that. A true believer can't say that judgment has nothing to do with them. Which is that's what they're implying. They might not even say the words just like that, but that's what they believe and imply. Because they get angry when judgment's mentioned. They have nothing to do with it. I'm not being judged. That's what it is. We're like 180 is to be in judgment. He's judging us now, putting on the fire now, bringing out the beast to destroy it and cut it to pieces and reveal it. It needs to be done. And it's not exactly a fun process when these things are done like this. The beast is brought out and the axe come and off goes your hand. No, that's not a fun process. Produces something good after, but this doesn't happen just once. It's a continual process. And for the harlot, this doesn't exist. That's why the church world, they're okay with the spinning globe and NASA as their gods, and they went to space and found the bottom of the ocean and whatever. To expose that is to be an enemy. I've seen it. Ministers of the church get angry right on the spot and don't want to talk about it. They want to hush it up. You can't tell this to my sheep. I want them deceived. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. I'm watching that happen. They didn't say those words like that when I mentioned something about the spinning globe lie when I was still fading away from the church world. And there was like two ministers or one elder and a couple other people in a circle. And it got dark and uncomfortable real fast for them. Why? Because it's threatening everything about them. You can't say I'm deceived or their judgment's coming. For me to be in that grand of illusion, oh, that's wicked, Ryan, or such and such believer. Wicked, man. How dare you insult my intelligence? While we go behind the pulpit saying, lean not on your own understanding. How dare you insult my wisdom? Lean not on your own wisdom. Not good, man. I'm trying to bring out, that's what the purpose of some of these videos are. It's like, what's so bad about the church world? Well, it's not bad if we're blind. It's not bad if we're blind, that's the point. But if we're starting to see, it's pretty bad. There's a real vicious hatred, and people aren't seeing the word become true. They're not seeing this hatred, and everyone that's carnal hates our Creator. They don't believe that. And I'm saying it is true, it's real, and it exists. It's just that they haven't heard truth. That's why it looks like a sheep so far. Give that sheep truth and watch the wolf come. They can't do anything about it. When truth is given, it has no power in itself. The wolf and beast will come out because that's the last thing they could bear, which is proving that people want people under their own name and they want to deceive and control them, hiding this actual intention all along. It's these intentions that are brought out and have been brought out. And I've said things here and there in my experience. And that's when you touch something real dangerous, man. That's when it gets real. If you touch something that's true, the intention of why someone's doing something, there it is right there. They will, what I found out, I had to experience and continue to experience, is that they will never give it up. They will always deny it. And then, so I'm going in the word scripture, remembering scriptures. Is there a teaching that says the wicked reveal themselves and admit their sins and all their delusions and all these things? I don't know. It's not in there. The only example would be believers receiving the Spirit and having, and then like we go, whoa, this is what we were doing all this time. That's it. Otherwise, unbelievers cannot um, accept the things of the Spirit of our Father. So these things are true things about the heart. They cannot, let them go. To hold on to their lies and hide it, and they'll just keep denying it. This is why you don't find people in the church world or on YouTube. Just everything's a masquerade. It's a scary masquerade, man. What I'm saying is the beast doesn't come out once and then it's destroyed all at once. That is not what the scriptures teach and is not a reality. And doesn't mean someone's not a believer because they admit that this is who they are. It's crazy, the very thing they'll use against you. Don't I read cutting off the eye, cutting off the hand, and it's like a process of cutting off. It doesn't just cut it off, it's done. It's perfect now, right? It's the furthest thing from the truth, where it's just perfect and overnight it's done. Matching that plants don't become trees overnight. Boom, it's done. Not a reality, but it should be in the process of, true believers under his favor, not using that as a license to sin. It's the very thing that would bother them and make them worried that they're a false believer then, which means that whatever understanding they have of favor, it means just they're in delusion. They're actually a false believer that thinks they're true and they're not. And believers don't use this as a teaching and license to sin. False believers don't have a problem with that. It doesn't bother them because it's what they do, secretly or openly, but mostly secret. So on a deeper level, like what a friend is, this utter separation starts happening where he's shown you too much. You can like pretend this person really does like me and loves me while he's showing you that they don't, and that they even try to get you to sin. They don't love you at all. They hate you while pretending. And once you see this, can I say my favorite word? It's damnable. Damnation. You know, I think it's damnation, not damnable. Might be in there once or twice because they felt like putting damnable or something instead of judgment or damnation. But I believe that word is judgment, and they will be in judgment or damnation. Um, yeah, damn this nation. I don't mean that with like it's just something that popped out of my mind. It's evil. Damnation. It's kind of funny. It's like Satan shooting himself in the foot again, which is what he does. So his children do. Always contradicting and shooting themselves. Every time a lie exists, they shoot themselves in the foot. It's just a matter of being revealed that they do that because it's so dark and blind it doesn't see that it's shooting itself in the foot. It shoots itself in the foot and goes, ow, someone else did that or something, anything but the truth. I didn't do it. I don't see a gun anywhere. It's like that blind, it's that bad. So maybe that's why when I look out in the night sky with the moon and it's kind of like it's darkness, but it has like its own like, I don't know, beauty too. Not calling good evil, that's not what I'm doing here. But there's something about it. Well, there's something about seeing these things, the spiritual darkness in people and seeing that they're true in contrast to the light and watching people do what scriptures say. Yeah, there's something to that. That's all. That's all I'm saying. There's something about that, where it's bad and it's bad for us, or no, you lose your friends and all these things, and then on the other hand, it's like that other part. It's good. Where like darkness has its own sort of like in like an evil way, glory or beauty. Where a woman, for example, is a perfect example. It's this one thing, beauty, glory, that it's supposed to represent, or it like just becomes a harlot, which is like the slutty so-called beauty, right, for all the wrong intentions and becomes a prostitute and a whore. And it's like, well, that attracts all those in that same spirit. See, it's like the perverted beauty. And then there's the other thing, which I don't even know. I guess it does exist for a few out there, but that's my hope that there's a few because I'm not seeing it around me. They're seeing the same things, the same traps, the same evil attitude and hatred and game playing and whatever. He's given me an experience for that, not just like men, but women, to see that this is what people are. To give me the experience that people that are not believers, women, unbelievers, believe they're God in their minds. So even something as simple as like, no, I don't want to go out with you, that's like the result, that's the answer, ultimately, right? That it's like a vicious hatred from now on. And now I need to destroy him because I can't seduce him, and I'm God after all. There's nobody I can't seduce. Nothing can say that I'm not God. He's evidence that I'm not, but I don't believe it, so I'm going to destroy him. I'm going to give him an apple to continue the delusion that I can do all things and there's no one that I can't seduce because I'm God in my own mind. The serpent said so. You shall be as gods. Not just the woman, but Adam too, in his own weak, twisted way too. That's been my experience. I've even had one woman at my last job try to fire me by lying and saying I burned up an entire machine on the floor or inside a cabinet. Made up a story. And the manager comes to me and the other guy I was with too. You guys burn a machine down? Like, what? Who said this? No, such and such, the person that did that, the woman said you guys did this and this. Yeah. What do you think happened when it was confronted? Denial. Denial. Like, why'd you do that? What do you mean? What do you mean? Fire. What's this fire thing about, Like, questioned about the fire. Said we burn things down, fire. What fire? I don't remember hearing fire. Oh, okay. Well, I thought you guys were like joking about fire. Maybe it was a joke and I didn't understand you. Liar, liar, liar. They'll never admit it. They just instantly have their tricky little thing to backpedal into in case the plan fails. And then you look like the insane, crazy person, right? That can't see anything. How many times have I experienced that? I don't know. Too many and too much more to come. But I think back then, even 2, 3 years ago, that there was a part of me that maybe believed that not everyone would do that. No, it's everyone. If someone's in trouble, they'll lie and deny to protect the beast and the image that they create and protect that they're God. It wasn't just one, multiple times. I've seen the instant hatred when I just, basically say no in short. Basically say no in short. And the vicious hatred comes, attacks, like I did some great evil. What did I do? Nothing. I didn't do any evil. As if I don't have the right to say no. I don't want to, don't want to go out with you. And what? That's evil of me saying that now? Every single one. All the same. The ones that are worse are the ones that like maybe hide it the best and smile. They're ready to do something more evil than the ones that just look angry instantly. Watch out for those. Where it's like, oh, this person didn't take it that bad, it seems. Okay, wait, just wait. House burns down or something. I'm exaggerating, but, sad. So, like, the carnal people in the church world and the friends in the church world that have grown up, they can't see these things. How could they see that when they're, like, happily just getting married tomorrow? And I'm not saying it's evil to get married. I'm just saying that they don't see it. They don't know what their own woman that they say loves him is doing to him constantly. It's doing whatever scripture says they do. And it hasn't overcome the devil, therefore it does these things, period. Unless someone's stronger than the devil, which I don't know anybody here on earth, our Father is, and Messiah was given the power. I don't know of anyone else, me, brother, friend, neighbor, whatever. I don't know anyone. They can believe that in their mind that they can overcome the devil or something. They don't even know what it is, what he is. Yeah, these are pretty difficult, hard, dark things, right? So I see too much to just let me hold hands and get in a relationship. It's hard to put into words what I see and how that just doesn't work for me. Really hard to explain. then Paul reassures that getting married is not evil. He's just bringing out what I believe I'm bringing out, that I see and I believe he saw. And Messiah surely saw it. People don't want to hear it, but that's why he didn't get married. Couldn't be the perfect example of son of Elohim. I don't think so. Not quite as good or perfect as this way. Hope someone doesn't think I'm trashing marriage or whatever. I believe that's why he has to say the simple words. It's not a sin to get married, because some people would have taken that, some prideful and puffed up, and it's a sin to marry, and I don't marry people, therefore I'm like holy, and take this, and everything that's good could be done with the wrong intention, and now you're evil. To put it that way, that's pretty simple. So all the commandments can be done for the wrong intention, and now you're evil. So like a teaching, like you could get prideful, and now you look down on anybody that's married, and you see this, and then it's building up. God is getting stronger, and he starts making up crazy doctrines that like have to do with him. Like something similar to this would be, there hasn't been a true believer since 1600 years, since I was born and later, maybe 2 or 3 years before I was born. But there hasn't been a single believer till I was born. Be careful with people like that, I hope you see the spiritual connection there with pride. There's a reason why people teach these crazy things. It's because they're already prideful and fallen. It's like I wouldn't dare to say or teach something like that massive with that much confidence, repeating it over and over again. I've never heard anything like that in my life. And to be perfectly honest, I've never heard someone call Satan she. But this same person that calls Satan she also says no believers since I was born, basically, within a couple few years of my birth. But no believers for the last 1600 years, 15. It's crazy. It's like speaking and exposing Satan is like, well, not good. But then like almost a likable attachment, calling it she, and almost proud of what Satan really is and does. That's what I'm seeing. So Eve gives the fruit over to Adam, and he eats. He's got his own weaknesses and problems and is overcome by the devil also. But just two different weaknesses, that's all. Where, yes, man very much wants to become a god in his mind also, and what he did, it's true for everyone, but that there's like a more stronger power that I'm seeing though with unbelieving women. I'm seeing more of this thing in a certain direction area of being gods, there's something I think just stronger, a little bit more. If I compare it like evenly, if I can, where read what the apostle said, what like women generally, the obviously unbelievers don't want to get into the world and get like really, he's saying spiritually, see, if you read the words, that's what he's talking about, is attached to the world, and you have to feed them or take care of their worldly needs. It's in the direction of like going away from the Father, see? To be attached to the world, to be friends with the world is to be enemies with our Creator, right? James teaching what Messiah already taught. To have that spiritual connection, love, friends, true friends with the world is to be enemies of our Creator. Powerful few words there. It's saying quite a bit. there's scriptures like this that exist where it like says a ton with just a few words, like the heart is deceitful above all things. How many things are all? Well, there's a lot. Well, it's deceitful above all of them. So man is deceived and tricked and seduced, and he has his own agenda with he's a god in his own mind and all this too. It's better to be an unbeliever than to become like a false religion, church world believer. Because I believe that God in their own mind grows even more than some unbeliever. Now they have to masquerade an image stronger than any time before. They're holy and righteous, you know. Get into the meat of his word. Yea, the deep things. Are people afraid of the deep? There's more pressure down there, right? The deeper someone goes underwater, more pressure, threatening your life. His sword cuts right between bone and marrow, spirit and soul, like the flesh, you know, and cuts and destroys it right and splits it. Sword is attacking the flesh, the carnal man. Who and what it is, it attacks and destroys. But they put that on you personally. You, this is why you do things, want to make fun of me and say I'm stupid and say all these things. They have to do that to you. Telling you the truth. This is the only thing a carnal person can do when actual truth is given, is attack you personally and make it look like anybody around them that you are evil indeed. I know there is no other experience. If someone's carnal, if someone's giving truth. That's the two if statements. Then this. They cannot do anything else. Different forms and variations and scenarios, but that's in short, is to make you look evil, an enemy, and that you've done evil things, and in all kinds of tricky ways to make you look evil. It could be however. So in this case, we burned it. You know, I burned a machine, a cabinet. You know, it makes me look pretty bad, right? I just set it on fire and just hate my job, hate my life. I'm just going to go burn a machine down. Maybe that'll get him fired. Even in their own tricks, he traps them in their own delusion, and it's actually overall pretty stupid to actually believe that this is going to work and get someone fired, you know. But maybe sometimes it actually does. Something like that works, you know. Yeah, I think it does happen. And women are best at it. Rape, rape, you know. I've seen it right face to face. You just give true words, expose something that's evil. He's attacking me. He's assaulting me. Like totally false accusations, you know. Yeah, the truth, the word, seed thrown at you, is attacking you and cutting you up. I'm not doing that with the intentions of doing what you're saying, but I've seen it. Crazy. Or anything to do with truth, repent, you know. It's an assault, it's an attack. Call 911. I got to call some devils and go, mommy, mommy, you know, calling devils to take care of the mom, my devil, you know. It's sad, it's childish. He's showing me this thing, but it's real evil, you know. At the same time, it's evil because you see the intentions of the heart and why it's doing things, and you could see the blinding, and that it's just trying to protect itself and make you look like you did something that you didn't do. I've experienced it big time, hardcore. So then be careful what we believe on, like behind a camera lens, TV, media. Got to be really careful. It's bad enough without that. People are lying all the time. Can't believe what they're saying, especially in Hollywood. I'd be surprised if 5% of what comes out of their mouth is true. But there has to be some truth in there, at least some, to trick people. I don't think it's 100% lie, or maybe sometimes it is, but it's always getting mixed with some, mix it up. People that give away lots of money, these people are all actors and frauds, not good people. And I'm telling you the actual thing, which is what they hate. The more someone has to show how good they are to the world, especially Hollywood cameras everywhere, millions of people, the more they have to do that, the more sin they're in and distraction. Because the believer doesn't sound the trumpet, doesn't do that. They're told not to do it. And the only time someone can actually believe this is if they're lining up and walking in truth. Does this mean that there's never any sin or mistakes? No, but it is in that opposite direction. See, where we don't have to do what you have to do because we're not trying to project the image of the beast that we're good. Messiah didn't have to project a false image, so then he didn't have to go and sound the trumpet when he did something. In fact, telling them not to do anything. Don't tell anyone. They go running around and telling them, well, you know why he did that? So the judgment doesn't come back on him. That's why, because scriptures teach that. Out of a true heart, out of not wanting this to go around with some false intention to become famous. See what I just did now? Don't go around telling everyone about it. And then they do. Well, the judgment's not back on Messiah because he said, don't do this. It's all on that person now, 100%, on any evil or twisting of the truth that they do from that point on. Which people love to do and twist truth, so that's also something where people will make up stories, right? It's all on that person now because you said, don't go around telling people, everyone, you did this. Because to have a false secret intention in the heart and go, I hope to get popular, but I won't say anything, right? Just let it go. I won't tell them not to say anything. Just stay quiet. Just an example of how being quiet is sin sometimes. And then this spreads around, and, fame and all these things come, right? The judgment starts going back on that person now because he can't be mocked. He's going to reap whatever he sowed, that false intention to become prideful and rich and famous. And he stayed quiet for the sake of hoping some fame would come, right? Instead of saying the truth, cutting it off. So you have nothing to do with it. What was I saying? People calling themselves, well, yeah, everyone believes they're God in their mind if they're not overcoming sin. Who and what they are, that's what they act as if they are that. They don't go around saying that usually. I'm God. They won't go do that like blatantly. I mean, at least the vast majority of the time this won't happen. But, not going out with me, well, he burns machines. Can you see the sin? This is not a light matter. He burns machines, and I hope he gets fired. What? For politely saying no? Politely saying no. Just an example, like this happens in all kinds of different ways, forms, shapes. Just one example of proof that someone's prideful and believes they're God in their own mind. You can't judge me. You can't tell me what to do. There's no one I can't seduce. That's why, in the same way, someone that's not being seduced threatens their godship, whatever you want to call it, in their own mind. it scares them because they don't want to believe that that's not true. And they're seeing some proof that this might not be true. So just like a church world person that's in the harlot, um, anytime a believer comes by and they see like the good works, you see some evidence that they don't like what they're saying, even because it's attacking them. His word is attacking them. So they can't actually believe there's one, because if that means there's one, that means his word is true. That there's at least one believer out there, and it's exposing me as being dark and false. So we got to destroy him because I'm God and I cannot believe that I'm wrong about a massive deception. I can't bear that. I hope people can see the ugliness and just say, look, I'm a sinner in delusion. Forgive me. Show me truth, you know? Because that's an ugly thing to be trapped in. Just let it out. And when in doubt, let it out some more. You know, it's either that or believers, you know? Those are the two things. The carnal mind's at war, enmity, hatred. And he reminds us that it's not you they hate first, it's they hate my Father and they hate me first. Therefore they hate you because you're what? Becoming one with the Father and Messiah, like he prayed for. I pray that they're one just as I and the Father are one. Prideful man. That could carry us away. I'm not saying that temptate, you know, but he was not prideful saying that. The temptation's always going to be there, but to automatically, like they do, call it prideful and evil is evil because they don't believe it could be done. They talk about their Trinity and Jesus being one and everything, and God themselves, God, man is a God. And then when you say one, if you were to say these words, and what you mean is like one has nothing to do with you being God, 180 from that, that's suddenly prideful. And I could go on like this for another 10 hours about the foolishness and contradictions that constantly arise that I see in people, you know, and myself when it comes. It's like, oh, I just did that. That's not good. Repent. Hit the repent button. I don't mean to make it like a mechanical thing. Just a little, maybe a tiny bit of humor. I don't know. See? Can we see? So then the heart is pretty ugly when it sees these things. It's that person really doesn't love you and you know it. So what are you going to do? Fake real? You can't fake real. If you know someone doesn't love you, then they're an enemy and you know it. And you know they hate you. And it's an abomination, like you're an abomination to them, like wicked or abomination to our Creator. Same thing. At war. And you know it. You know that deep inside, you know it. That's why it's tough for a believer, because they know they're not confused. They know nobody can love them except other believers here. So that's what I meant in one video. It's like everything I do is wrong. Yeah, yeah. And that's the like overall experience. There's nothing you can do that's right with these people. Whether it's a guy, doesn't matter. They try to trip you up, steal your tools, catch you in sin. They all did it. Or a woman, try to seduce you, catch you in sin, do all this stuff, whatever, control you. It's just screwed all around. Did they all do it that I was close around with at the last job? Like, closer, like walking around? Every one of them. I'm not saying like 100 people, but the few, five, six, seven, every one of them. Every one of them. Seeing clearly each individual one, what they personally tried to do, every one of them. And people out in the plant, people out there, few of them too. And right before I walked away, it was like at its worst point, where this guy masqueraded so good, kind of Hispanic, shorter guy, and then a taller Hispanic, and they're like the leads of a certain area, the leads. Maintenance technician is my job. So even at the end, close right to the end, they turned on me too, but they were already doing it. But one of them I wasn't expecting, and he did too. Did the same thing, steal tools, go up to me and claim that I'm stoned, and that my hair was a little longer. You've seen videos like something like that, and just make up things and convinced in their own mind, even after you tell them the truth right back in their face, that this is insane. Then they're done. They can't be wrong. They made this false accusation. Now they have to stick with it. I'm telling you the truth. They will not back down. They cannot look like fools. They have to be right that Ryan is stoned because he's got this stoner hair, and he's like way too calm and just not as active as, certain personality that they start disliking too. So he's stoned, and we'll tell him right in the face, "You're a stoner, man. You okay, loser?" That's pretty much how they walked away, laughing, literally laughing after their jokes. So it was only so much before I had to go away because it started building up to the point where I couldn't do my job. Or if I could, I'm not going to stay there in a living hell forever. I'm coming out of Sodom, if I can help it. Is it going to come with somewhere else? Yeah, it's going to chase us, but I'm going from one place to the other. It's the best option right now. That's what I did. Previous jobs, pretty much the same thing. It just was worse and worse as time went on. Random flare-ups and with this driving job too. Random flare-ups and crazy anger and purposely getting orders wrong multiple times, multiple places, different people. The mistakes happen, I see that, but they do it on purpose. I've seen it. Something for me to see that I experienced. That I don't believe is happening to like an unbeliever like that specific thing where they'll just flare up and, maybe every now and then something like that happens. Someone's got a grudge and they're trying to get someone back. But like these people, I don't know any of them. And they all need to believe that you need their help. It's amazing. And they made it about you. In my job, 3 years experiencing this, building up. So then when I see something like that again on YouTube, I already quickly know what's going on. That person's an enemy. And they hate me because I've seen the exact same hatred that I did in this last job that was building up for 3 years, the hatred. They're not your friends. They're not your brothers. They do the same sly tricks to try to make you look evil because you're threatening them just being there. The Father's light is threatening them. His word is threatening them, cutting them. The very moment I see that, the test failed. That person's a thief. He's robbing temples. He's a liar. He's a murderer. There's nothing good in them. That would be to calling the devil like good or something. Oh, he's a good. Are you saying the devil's good? that's in people. Okay. Not to say that they never do like any outward good work, but all the good they do, why? To be seen by men, to continue to project the image of the beast that they're good. That's their intention. Messiah taught it. I'm seeing the reality of it everywhere. And I don't see people talking about this at all. It's pretty mind numbing. That's why doctrine in people's heads, I don't know if that really does what I'm seeing, where it's just doctrine in people's heads. I don't know if those words will ever match the reality of what I'm seeing. Where we even might sound like some false prophets, like say some of the same words sometimes. But there's those two things are so vastly different. It's light and darkness. That's the difference. It's just the religion system in their head that they like, making a golden calf in their own image, and a calf is a beast. And that's why Egypt made a bunch of beasts and 50-50 beasts, because it's in their own image. Then they say this is their God, which is a beast, the devil, that tortures people forever. Put doctrine on it, which is their own doctrine. But the cover is that it's God. It's a cover. It's their teachings and their understanding, things that they want to believe is true. It's their own, but they put it on God. Wow. That's actually happening, but they don't really see what they can't. We're seeing things that they don't even see. They know not what they do. But they're doing it, nevertheless. And if you expose it, they get angry and they know something about what they're doing. That's why they get angry, because it cannot be that this person just discerned why I'm doing this. So the anger comes, I'm telling you, man, that's what's happening. Well, don't dwell on that too much. That could be a downer. Or do the impossible. Rejoice when these things happen. And then he has to teach you how to do that, right? Because what carnal man could rejoice from that? So he does do it. It's like for you, the Spirit is testifying to your spirit that you're a son of Elohim, like I read. But nobody else is going to believe it except you. And maybe if there's one or two believers in the same state even, then they would also. Makes me wonder, just how few there are. It's just a couple few thousand, I don't know. It's not what the image is being projected, which is many, billions even, 2, 3, 4. Combine the religions and it's like over half the world easily, I think. That's not the truth. And really, everyone is in their own, like, it would be include all the world, really. Because atheist is their own system and religion, too, The religion is to expose and attack certain religion, and that's it. But I get it. I get what they're saying. No God. So then it's not, it kind of is ruined to some degree when it says the fool in his heart says there's no Elohim. We have it in God in translations. Because harlots can say the words, and in fact, they have said them a lot. So it's like when you really start seeing the value of that verse and you say it, it's like, oh, wait, there's 2 billion other harlots that say this. And everyone already knows what they mean and understand. See how it taints it? Not actually, but in the minds of people, it's tainted and ruined. That's a true teaching. Only a fool could say there's no creator. They're a fool in their own heart, and their fathers trapped them in their own deceit. Thinking they're wise, they become fools, like the apostle is saying. That's that blinding, stiff, strong blinding. They really believe they're wise, but they become fools so quickly, Paul's saying. You know, um, whatever his Hebrew name is, I don't know, Shaul or something. I don't, that doesn't bother me too much with the other. I don't know. Maybe it will bother me more later. We'll see. Um, so he's like quickly saying, become fools, quickly become fools. This is no good. You got to become a fool in order to be wise. What is this? What's the reality of this real word here? Is that people around you believe you're a fool. Those words mean something. It's not doctrine in someone's head, you know, which is so commonly what the church world projects and implies. This means something, that the world starts believing and seeing that you are a fool. Is that something? Let's jump in the pool. I want to be a fool. That's not something somebody wants to do so badly, is it? To be thought of as fools by everyone, testifying that you're doing what nobody else, and they use that once again against you instead of evidence for any evidence of being a believer. Like you do this because of pride and you do this because of this. While everybody hates them and even their own families against them. And nobody else in the world's truly doing that to cause all these things to happen to them, except believers. And then they still say you do it because of such and such reason, right? When all the evidence is pointing against it. Like only a crazy, insane man would go in a direction that has everyone in the world hate them or separate from them, ultimately. See how that accusation's ultimately insane and foolish? They can't even see anything they do. Whereas every unbeliever in the world has their sect or group or something where there's at least a group of people that think they like them and their friends and. Whereas believers, Messiah being always the perfect example, everyone's walking away from him, thinking in the beginning, how long did that last? Few minutes, few days, whatever it is. They walk away after, but they do walk for a while, then they walk away, finding out this guy is evil. And he's saying hard words. Who can bear it or understand it? He's telling us to drink his flesh and eat blood. It's just an example of the hard words, sort of like naturally. Actual teachings, the truth is hard words, but like this is an example of hard words, like drink my blood, eat my flesh, like breaking the commandments if you literally do that. It's just a good example, a trap of an example of hard words that people can't understand. And then they walk away thinking you're evil, teaching people to sin. So do carnal people believe that a true believer is teaching people to sin? Yes, they do. Every single one of them believes that because they're in a battle. They think, whereas spiritual man, the true believer, knows they teach evil and people to sin. But both are going to be saying the same words, see, back and forth. Like doctrine of demons, and the other person goes, doctrine of demons. No, that's the way it is. If you can find another way, anybody, let me know. Call me, text me. But I think Messiah, prayed the words and there was no other way. So we kind of have our answer already. Or we do have an answer, not kind of. Is there another way? Different cup, maybe some less judgment, less this. Is there any other way? Please. But if not, your will be done, not my own. And there was no other way. And then he gives you the clarity to not even be able to go in a delusion and lie to yourself and pretend there's another way. You can't even do that. Because that's what he's revealing to you. So to do that is like, wow, that's stupid and it's real blind. Whereas those that don't believe are in that same delusion still, where they believe their own lies, and truly get blinded and believe it. Where a Hitler comes out and everyone's cheering for him. And people think that they've changed, that this won't happen on a grand scale again. We'll always see who the evil person is coming next. We'll always see it. We're modernized. I remember saying something about not being modernized, and there was a negative reaction by at least one or two people. I'm like, I don't think you're right, Ryan. We're modernized. That wasn't my point. I wasn't talking about technology. Like, not a drop of humanity has changed. They're not modern at all, except for the technology and the fashion, the waves of what's popular and it goes away and comes again. That's not talking about who and what people are. That hasn't changed a drop. So when Hitler comes again, they're going to do the same thing. Cheer him on, He wants to kill everyone. Could it really be that blind and bad at the end? I think so. I believe so. It's got to get real ugly first, right? The pregnancy for each individual, but for the world, it just goes in utter darkness and insanity that it's always been in, but it's just like the worst point. In the meantime, hypocrites that are smoking because they use their carnal mind to think is saying that the world's getting better and better. And they'll continue to teach that till the end, and the rest of their life, no matter what generation. They'll continue to do it the rest of their life and or to the end, where even when bombs are dropping, I'm just painting a picture, and it's like someone's taking a video of this guy that teaches it's getting better and better, and there's no devil, right? And a bomb drops in the background, and it's like on TV. He's like smiling because people are like smiling, so he smiles too, doesn't know what's going on. And like the cloud is coming at him, and he's going, it's getting better and better. It's getting better and better, and he gets taken out by the bomb. Without exaggeration, that's how blind people are. That's the teaching of Scripture. Their spiritual blinding. They have eyes but cannot see. That's the blinding. See how that's offensive? Like, no, nobody could be that dumb. It's just that pride that hangs on to that. Oh, the world must be a globe and it's spinning. It can't be that it's that blind and I've been that massively taken and sifted by Satan. No way. Yes way. Anyone who doesn't love truth believes a strong delusion, whatever differences and divisions, it's a delusion. I think that's what the deep things of our Creator is, or at least starting to speak about them instead of like milk doctrine, which is good if it's good milk, but not to stay there. The secret things are like the deeper things, and the more secret it is, the deeper it is. And the further down the ocean you are, the less chance of seeing it or finding it. It's like more and more secret and more pressure. There's like that spiritual pressure of being exposed. And it's not often, I think, with a false prophet through their lifetime. I don't think it's very often that they come across any given believer, like a true believer. I don't think that happens often. In fact, it might not happen to most people. I don't know. Because then if it happened to every false prophet, there would almost need to be that many believers too. I can't say on that for sure. Is it possible that every one of them will cross one believer in their life one time at least throughout the generation? I don't know. That's way too big for me. I don't know. Um, but when it does happen, though, it's an utter shock. You know, Never heard people say what you say and do what you do, and they use that to prove that everything you do and say is a lie because they never seen it before. They literally use that, and they will use that. This is prophecy. We'll talk about these things, and then it happens tomorrow to someone where the same thing happened. Example of using nobody does this, nobody's never heard of this, and they use that to justify whatever their lie is. Never listening or hearing, right? I believe the Bible, but I don't believe that a wise man listens, at least hears, loves chastisement, correction, reproof. But a fool hates it. How come you are acting as a fool right now, according to Scripture? No, I'm not. Shut your mouth. This revealing, it's revealing that the people, the vast majority, the harlot house, builds their house on sand, despises our Creator's word, the very thing they read and use in their harlot house. They despise it. It's just that there's no teacher that's giving them truth. Excuse me, truth. There's no believer. There's just smooth words all day long. This many people all at once here can't love truth this much. I'm looking, I'm like, where is this example of 1,000 believers? And here they are. Here's 1,000 of them. I'm looking for like two, one. And they say there's 500 or 1,000 over here. I don't think so. Let's go test it. Not that I'm saying to do this, but say a few words and boom, sure enough, all 1,000 of them hate you. Okay, that's what I thought. That'd be too good to be true, right? That many believers at once, one area. Where two or three are gathered, there he is. Where 500 or 1,000 gathered, maybe the devil is there. Never thought of it just like that. But I'm not going to give like a literal number. But, can you see the polar opposites, the light and dark? Where two or three are gathered, there he is. But where like many are gathered, there Satan is. Because Satan's all about many and smooth words and all these things, good times, feel good. I just can't believe it's that blind, though. I do believe it, but it's hard to believe at the same time. I think I'm understanding why John marvels. Like, no, this can't be true. I can't believe it. And Daniel goes pale-faced and gets sick. Show me more. I'm seeing something, but I need to. No, it's all right, Daniel. This is all you get to see. And Daniel is connected with Revelation there because it's about the beast, at least part of Daniel there. And then Revelation, there's that connection. And John marvels and he's like, does he fall down? I don't know, but he's like in the same state of mind as Daniel, basically going pale-faced. And what is this revelation? It's very simple. I believe and see what this is going pale-faced with how evil people are and how evil the world is. That even for them, it's hard to believe that it's that evil. And I think even further, though, more specifically, the harlot is doing this. Not just unbelievers, the harlot is this bloodthirsty and hates truth that much, hates our Creator that much, hates His Word that much. That would turn someone pale-faced who, look, we read His Word, but here's the truth, John, they hate it. Wait, but they read it. No, they hate it, though. Who's going to believe that? Don't we even hear the bigger the lie, the more people will buy it and be deceived, right? That's a good cover. It's a cover under such a massive lie that no one can believe it, save someone given the truth. They read Bibles. Look at them. We obviously don't despise it. This man is crazy. Take him out and beat him for exposing us. But yeah, take him out and kill him for exposing us. That's why. When you see this and when you see people do it, it's real sick. And then when you see people who you believe are friends, your old definition of friend, it gets sick. Now you have a new definition of friend. It's not that. It's not that old definition. That's old. That's bad. You need a new friend, new definition, the new man. Someone that doesn't do that to you. That we've all done it, right? As carnal people. Some form of it, somehow, some way, we've done it. In delusion, in blinding, but we've done it. I guess that's it. I could see how this would be like the most boring thing ever for carnal people. Well, it wouldn't necessarily even be that, but I believe they would have to shut it off pretty quickly. It's like, it reminds me of like some cartoon or something like something that's coming out of a book and it's like attacking you, and then you close it real quick. Oh, we didn't go in some other delusional la la land or whatever. Close the book. It's dangerous, you know. And then they close it and it's like, oh, we're safe. I think I'll end it right there. That seems right. All right, peace.